What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Wolfcryer here, and today I want to talk about itemization, runes, and RuneWords as far as what we learned from the Blizzcon 2019 Diablo 4 demo, as well as that panel on systems at this year's Blizzcon. And I also want to talk about my concerns and hopes for these systems as well as the game gets going in its progression and everything starts to get implemented into the game. And we're going to go ahead and start off with items. Now, it looks like it's going to follow that Diablo 3 formula as far as item tiers. You've got normal, magic, and rare as your base tier. So normal is going to be that trash gear that you're just going to toss away. Magic's going to have an affix or two more than normals, and rares are going to have more affixes than magics. I'm not too sure if these attack and defense affixes that are currently on the gear in the demo and what they showed on screen, I'm not sure if those are going to stay in the game. We do know for a fact that there are going to be more affixes such as cooldown reduction, attack speed, crit chance, crit damage, resistances, all that type of stuff will be implemented into the game. So I don't know if these attack and defense ones are just placeholders and maybe they're going to be replaced with actual offensive and defensive affixes. I'd like to see a ton of affixes added into this game, into the affix pool, so that you can have a bunch of different variations within your gear choices. And one other thing that I'd like to talk about before we move on to the legendary and set pieces is I'd like to see magic and rare item pieces hold some value in the end game. I know that for legendary and ancient legendary items, they want those to be as powerful as set and ancient set items. They don't want to go down the same road that Diablo 3 did, where you need a set to complete endgame for the most part in that game. You absolutely need a set to be competitive, and you need a set to progress further within Diablo 3. And they want to make sure that legendary items are on par with those set items. And I think that's a good idea overall, but I'd like to not forget about rares. In Diablo 2, and for those of you who don't remember, in Diablo 3, during the vanilla stage of Diablo 3, before Loot 2.0 and before legendaries got buffed and before sets became the be-all, end-all in Diablo 3, rares could be important. They could be part of your end game build. And you weren't as reliant on legendary items. If you got a super awesome rare piece of gear that had all the stats you wanted on it, you were able to use that in endgame. But nowadays in Diablo 3, normal, magic, and rares are all pretty much just crafting materials. There's not really a need for them to drop at all in the end game of Diablo 3, other than to break down. So they should actually just drop as crafting materials, because there's nothing worth picking up and identifying, if you will, because you already know it's absolutely useless when compared to a set and a legendary item. Now, early on in Diablo 3, as I said, and in Diablo 2, it is entirely possible that some of these pieces of gear that were blue and yellow were absolutely awesome, and you could build a build around it. So it would be cool to see that aspect return to Diablo 4, but I'm not sure if they want to go down that road. Like I said, they think that legendaries should be as powerful as set items, and you should be able to vary your build in many different ways. So hopefully they also extend that to the lower tiers of items within the game. Now, the Mythic legendary tier, as far as items go, I'm actually pretty excited about that. I think that one piece of gear that you could wear that absolutely solidifies your build and pushes it to that next power level is actually pretty cool. It's something that could be done within the game, and done in a way, since you can only wear one, where it could be beneficial for many different builds, and this could be a very cool thing to see. It's definitely way better than Primal Ancients in the current Diablo 3 system, because there's more affixes available on Mythic legendary items. So we will have to wait and see how itemization goes in Diablo 4. I just really hope that magics and rares have some viability towards the end game. Now, on to runes, ladies and gentlemen. The current system for runes and RuneWords in Diablo 4, as we got to see in that demo, and as they talked about on that systems panel, is the fact that there will be a condition rune or a trigger rune and an effect rune. So when two of these are combined into sockets onto a piece of gear, you can actually get this effect. For instance, when you freeze an enemy, activate the next socketed rune. That is the rune. And if you look at the co-rune, when active, reduce a random skill cooldown by 15%. So when you put two of these together on the same piece of gear, when you freeze an enemy, you reduce a random skill cooldown by 15%. Now, I would like to see this expanded. I would like to see more than 2 or 3 sockets on a piece of gear. I'd like to go back to being able to have 5 or 6 sockets on your gear, similar to Diablo 2. I think that opens up a lot of variables when it comes to runes and RuneWords. I'd like to see you be able to trigger more than one rune word at a time. I'm not talking about putting stuff like Enigma back into Diablo 4 because that would be absolutely ridiculous. And I don't think stuff like that should exist, but I'd like to see some more powerful rune word combinations. And I think that they should be rare. These shouldn't just fall out of the sky like legendaries. Now, they did say that legendaries and sets won't just fall out of the sky like they currently do in Diablo 3. But hopefully this extends to runes, and hopefully it is somewhat of a loot searching game. I want to be able to find that holy grail of an item like you currently can in Diablo 2, because let's face it, I played Diablo 2 for about 10 years of my life, and there are still items in that game I have never seen. And I actually like that little bit when it comes to Diablo 2. Yes, Diablo 3, it makes it easier to get the gear you need to complete your build, but the cool thing about Diablo 2 is it had more builds available, and the way Diablo 4 is looking like it's shaping up, you will be able to build even more builds, so hopefully that won't be a huge problem. I think that the big problem with Diablo 3 is the fact that you absolutely need those items to be competitive in any way. So if they bring everything down a notch, but still be able to add that power when you need it or when you can acquire it, I think that's going to be a good thing. I'd like to see this be a loot searching game. I'd like to see more on the end game content, but as far as itemization and runes and RuneWords, I'd like to see this system expanded upon. Now, we do know that they are looking at possibly having runes be able to be upgraded or leveled up, if you will, or modified in some way, and that might help out and alleviate some of these problems as well. But I still think that having RuneWords that are composed of more than 2 runes would be pretty cool in Diablo 4. Just food for thought for the developers out there, any that watch this video. I'd say just think about it. Think about taking it back and finding some happy medium between Diablo 2 and Diablo 3 as far as loot goes. I know a lot of people out there don't have time for that epic loot search, but the cool thing about the way the systems are shaping up in Diablo 4 is you will still be able to progress and still be able to search for that epic piece of gear while not actually holding yourself back from enjoying the game. And I think with Diablo 3, the way things get out of hand when it comes to legendary items and set items, and the way the power just enhanced both of those to the point where they are unplayable without these legendaries and sets, I think that's part of the problem. And I think I'd like to see some toning down of legendaries and set items. It sounds like they're doing that with sets. I'd like to see that with legendaries, and I'd really like to see runes amped up a little bit. But I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you so very much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. I always greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button, and let me know down in that comment section down below what you like and any concerns you have with the current itemization and RuneWords system in Diablo 4 that we know of at this point in time. Now, I do expect that you guys realize this is a work in progress. I don't know if any of this stuff is actually going to be this way or not when the final game releases. So it is currently a work in progress. So get your feedback out there, but do it in a nice way, ladies and gentlemen. All right, once again, thank you all so very much, and you all have a fantastic day. Peace.